I definitely see the benefit of it. I guess one thing that's kind of interesting about Mike's job description is the technological changes that come. So now you've got all this stuff hanging off a water tower that didn't used to be there, and maybe in 5 or 10 years it won't need to be there. But there's an interesting kind of a thing where sometimes people approach me, being in a small town, they think they can contact Mike and get free engineering services, which they probably should talk to JEO or HDR or Shimmer or someone like that, but what they're trying to do is get, you know what I mean? So it's kind of an interesting job duty. I mean, a lot of other city employees, well, you can always contact Greg and get, Greg and get free legal advice and stuff too, right? Or Josh, but I think it's interesting, and I also want to make the comment. I think Mike handles that touchy little, balance of whatever that is. To Mike realizes, hey, I'm not competing with actual engineering firms to do design work for, Boy Scouts and whoever calls me up and says I need design work. So that's just my comment, and I just think it needs to be kind of heard.
Yes, John?
Yeah, I agree with Matt, because firsthand experience working with Mike with the projects going on next to me and the way Mike has professionally handled everything, I really respect that. And we didn't have that before, and
Not even close.
not even close. And Mike has handled everything that's came up, and what I've been involved in on a couple items that's just happened in my area, Mike did a very professional job.
I'll just add, the city of Seward may be the smallest city in Nebraska. There's probably Mason Village or somebody else that just has a local person that does it. But to have a full-time city engineer, it speaks to the amount of work that we have. And I will say it for Mike, because I don't know if Mike would admit it, but if you've ever come to my office and look at his weekly reports and how much stuff he has on there, the list only grows, never gets shorter. He's probably overwhelmed with how much stuff we have going on. We call these good problems because we're a growing city. But we keep him incredibly busy with a lot of stuff. And I think that speaks to the fact that we're such a small city comparable to the Lincolns and Omahas and Grand Islands and Kearneys that might have in-house engineering. Beatrice would be another one. And I think John Hughes, as I told the group when we built this, kind of served that function, but didn't have the pedigree and background. He did have an engineering degree, just not in civil whatsoever. And so he kind of ran that line, and it made more sense to have it serve as that. But I couldn't even imagine the work that Mike does if some of those things transition to myself or Tim for us to take on along with an outside firm. Our responsiveness to the public would be diminished exponentially.
And savings pays for the position, because that was part of the original calculus, is if we outsourced all of that work, how much is that costing us?
Yeah.
And so not only do you get the savings by having someone do it in-house, but you have the, I've always felt from the standpoint of I like having Mike, because I want somebody who represents us, looking out for us, not another firm that, you think is looking out for you, but, I want to make sure Mike's asking the right questions that we don't even know to ask. And having your person in that position is valuable, is invaluable, so. Anyone else?
I just echo the same thing as we go through wellness center, wastewater treatment plant, everything like that. Mike's been exemplary in going through that, so I agree with Derek that even though we're updating the job description, we don't want him to leave. So with that, move to approve the job description.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any further discussion before Mike asks for a raise? Seeing none, register your votes. You display the votes.
Voting in favor Taylor, Tanya, Coulter, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Thank you. Item 6, consideration of a resolution setting a fee for junk dealers as per City Code, Chapter 271-1.3. Greg.
All right, I'll give you the impetus for this one. So we had a complaint about somebody in town having junk kind of relatively neatly stacked all over their property. And when we contacted them about it, they claimed that they were a junk dealer. And we said, well, in the city of Seward, pursuant to city code, you have to be a licensed permitted junk dealer. And again, there's some zoning issues that relate to, there's a whole litany of stuff that goes with this. But in working that through the community service officer, Shannon Arena, he went in and he said, hey, I noticed that to be a junk dealer, you gotta have a license. He goes, where's the application for the license? And we went, We don't have a clue. And then we looked it up and looked at the code and it said there'll be a fee attached to that license that's set by council. And so I said, hey Derek, let's see if we can find that fee. That doesn't exist either. So we have this code sitting there that doesn't have a permit, also doesn't have a fee, but it is part of our city code. And so tonight we said, hey, we'll look around and what's appropriate. Essentially, this is to operate. We say junk business, but it's really to operate what you would think of as traditionally junk yards, salvage yards, places that you would drop off for metal recycling and things like that. These are just by zoning alone, I will tell you, these are only even allowed in like super heavy industrial and agricultural areas. So that's a whole nother issue, but we wanted to rectify this issue as it was identified. So you have before you a license fee, $500 that will cover our cost for processing, everything else that goes with it. We'll generate the permit. The permit will note that you have to go through all the zoning process too and check in with Tim's office, because that will probably eliminate most of the issues. But we want to follow up on this. The secondary item as a follow-up, just so you understand. In this discussion, we discussed the process of like, how do we even go back and find if there's a resolution that set this fee in the first place? There's not a comprehensive search mechanism at the city to go look through old stuff. It's basically me and Derek and the old dusty books in the back, flipping through every single one of them, trying to find it. And so we had worked on in the past with Bonnie, and we kind of got it started, but then I think just due to COVID and other things, it kind of went to the wayside. What we refer to as a comprehensive fee resolution. This will be a one-stop shop document that will literally have every fee that's approved by the council that we charge to the public listed out there. And we received just randomly in some of our other conversations from Hickman, their fee resolution, and that was kind of the basis. We did the same in Beatrice when I was there. And the reason being is every time we update a fee then, we know that the most updated fees for everything is in that most recent one you passed. And that gives us an opportunity to keep that as a singular document rather than commingling 15 documents to try and figure out what it costs for this one permit plus this zoning fee plus this right-of-way permit and this other item that could all be related to one project. It's just not feasible or conducive to the system, how it's set up. And so one of Derek's projects moving forward will be, you'll see one come back. We're not going to adjust any of the fees or anything on it. We're just going to put them all together in a very logical order and put them all in one so that we can start tracking this information easily. So when Derek started tackling it, we were going to try and give our best guess effort on tonight and put in this one. And we're just so busy with all the other stuff we got going on. He didn't have time, nor did I, to assemble that and feel confident that we were giving you enough.
That would be extraordinarily time consuming, I'm sure.
Oh, it is.
There's a lot there.
There is, and you have to kind of attack it from multiple angles, not only looking at all the resolutions that set the fees, but also looking at all the statutes that reference you guys setting a fee for something like this, where it doesn't exist anywhere. So we're kind of have to hit it twofold, but just kind of setting the groundwork as this is the start and impetus of that conversation. But we can answer any questions you have in regard to the junk fee or this. I don't know, other than this particular situation, that we have anybody that qualifies in town at the moment that would need it anyway.
Typically zoning takes care of that.
Yep. And it should take care of the one we're talking about too, but we should have this in place. This is not something, if it sits in code and talks about a license or a permit process and a fee set by you, we need to do that.
More of a housekeeping measure.
Yep.
Any questions? Yes, Rich?
Just a general question now. Because this particular individual already has accumulated his materials, there's no grandfathering or anything that would exist for that. Should this be moved forward?
No, because the zoning was already in place, the zoning laws and how you handle that and what you apply for to do that under zoning. Like we said, we think zoning's gonna take care of it, but we wanted Shannon to be able to go out there and say, hey, you need to do this and get a junk dealer permit and everything else, and just kind of cover all of our bases. So we didn't say, well, hey, if you go get a special use permit, you're good. We wanted to cover it as we saw it in statute. That means, and I think it's a special use permit even in those ag and industrial zonings, you still have to go have a public hearing. It's not a permitted use out there even. So there is a formal process. So it would, if we're being going down the line, I'm guessing it's gonna get knocked out on that because it is not zoned ag or heavy industrial. But that will take care of that one, so the grandfathering issue should not be an issue on that one.
Fair enough, thank you.
Yes.
$500 is kind of the norm.
I feel it's consistent, again, there's not a lot that do this, permit this, or bring these online anymore. Again, I don't know that salvage yards, usually they're kind of settled at this point, where they end up being, or you see them going out, but they've been surrounded. I know in Beatrice, for instance, they surrounded their salvage yard, I think. They had another one down by the riverside that they had brownfield out and removed. Most of the time you're seeing something like this go out, and it's moving out to a more industrialized area, or just kind of conglomerating into larger ones regionally. So,
Any other questions or comments? Do you have a motion?
Introduce the resolution.
Introduce resolution? The resolution has been introduced and designated as resolution number 2023-7. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, ready for your votes? Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanya, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Alright, item 7, update on the Wellness Center.
alright, tons of stuff on the wellness center. At the end of the week, we will complete what was called the DD process. That is,
Design documents.
design documents will be issued to Sampson Construction, and then they'll prepare their next bid, or estimated costs for us. We feel pretty confident that we have the groundwork settled. We just met with them on Monday. Councilmember Streisand was there along with our standard member of design group people. And we didn't adjust a whole lot this time, correct, Councilmember? I mean, we were really getting into the nuance of just a few doorways and focus kind of in the centralized area of the pool. We were confident on with no major changes, just making sure we were agreed with what they designed. The gym is settled. Studio space and the cardio weight room was settled. I believe the locker rooms we were settled on, offices we were settled on. And then childcare, we are setting a meeting with some of our local childcare providers, including like the Jays Club, that's operating the before and after school care facility at Seward Elementary, to just kind of have them look through the setup, bathrooms, attachments, and things as we have in the square footage for what we call the before and after school room, and then the child watch room. We didn't make any adjustments to those rooms. We just want to make sure that they understand can that be utilized and flowed through that way. But other than that, we are really down to, now we were talking finishes, flooring, carpet, paint on walls, design, some of those. Colors, murals, some of these aesthetic things. And so we're gonna follow up. I sent you an email this morning, please respond to that. And then we plan to show you this at open meeting on the 20th. So we'll have a presentation on the 20th that will kind of show what we've finalized from a design perspective. Again, not the final product, but very close, because we want to get some of that final feedback to, because now there ain't much more you can do after we get past this point. And so we want to make sure that we're confident moving forward in that. Internally, we've been working with our vendors for layouts and costs associated with all the basketball, volleyball equipment that goes into the gymnasium. So that's your hoops, your volleyball nets, systems, both above and below, all the net drops to kind of separate the different courts and stuff, the flooring for both the gymnasium and then the track that now surrounds it, since it's all single floor. We worked through our vendor and contact for all the weight equipment layout, both free weights and cardio equipment and machines, weight machines. So that's kind of laid out within the space that we have available. And then I think all the pool mechanical is kind of getting settled out. There's some specific detailed information that went to Adam today on the membranes and some of the stuff that we're doing with that from mechanical. And so that's kind of the big one there. Other than that, I think Shane and Joel Brazy, our executive director of the Wellness Center, comes online on the 26th of June. Some of the big tasks he has is to start ordering furniture We'll most likely work through EECS, that's what we've heard, that's who we utilize for a lot of our stuff anyway. So he'll start going through it and starting to schedule and look at desks, cabinets, things that are not affixed or attached are not included in that, that's our responsibility. Chairs, other furnishings, we'll also start having him tackle working with, looking at some of the equipment and stuff in the youth and child watch. So, a lot of the stuff we actually have, so we're not like, they included originally like basketballs, well, we have all that stuff, it's actually housed at the middle school. All of our recreational we have a really nice set of basketballs for recreational purposes. That'll just move over into storage at the wellness center, be utilized for our programming, and then we'll probably have some of them utilized for just free use or checkout. But we have a lot of that stuff too. So a lot of these things, soft goods that they're considering and we actually already have, they're just spread out amongst the city. They'll be conglomerated back to the wellness center through Adam and Joel. So Joel's always going to get a trial by fire. He's kind of been tagging along on pool stuff, but one of his big tasks will be to kind of get spun up on pools, pool mechanical, and some of the other elements of that, lifeguard training and all those things as we work through the rest of the summer. And I'll cover the pool in my admin report, but that's the other big task he'll start getting involved in with Adam. Adam's our certified pool operator. Joel will get spun up to also be a certified operator, is what we anticipate. So that will be going on. Matt, I don't know what else, I'm trying to think of anything else that we had from our meeting. It was pretty long, pretty lengthy, and pretty detailed.
I would say, you know, the comment is, the concern is, or the comment was made yesterday that once it's brought to the rest of the council and brought out to the public, you know, there's always looking for support by asking you, what's your opinion, you know, do you like this, whatever. A lot of the details, a lot of the people that you've put on the committee and stuff that have been sweating all these details and ironing out every square inch and every place for a locker and stuff, there's a reason. So don't be goaded into an initial reaction of like, oh my gosh, I hate this, right? I mean, there's reasons why things are the way they are or whatever, so, you know, please have faith, please put your trust in the main people on the committee, myself, or representing the council and stuff, and give us a chance to reply when, you know, when we roll it out to see it, because there was some apprehension of, we've been cooking this cake for 2.5 years. We really gotta get it out so you guys can have a taste, but we don't want you to just throw it in the trash either, so you can tell us to start over. So I think Samson has just been awesome, you know, having them, like we really discussed last winter as a council to try to get the construction management team in with the architectural team, BVH, early on, and it's just paid huge dividends in this project. And they've got a lot of great ideas, and there's sometimes they battle back and forth and stuff, and you know, I really think having them on board the past few months has really helped the project a lot. So can't say enough good about them, good about them all. So appreciate your efforts, Greg. You know, Shane Bach's efforts, obviously, you know, just beyond the call of duty for sure. But we're getting to some big times here. We want to roll it out, and we want to really have the best bang for the buck.
Matt had to experience the painstaking process of us going through the estimate line by line, and I think there are hundreds and hundreds of lines of like, this estimated wall finish for this room.
It makes the 90-page annual budget for the city look like a walk in the park.
And we went through on an online meeting every single line and asked a question about it, and was like, is that the expectation? Is that what we put?
And BVH's comment, and they've made this comment public, is they did not know that Samson had the capabilities with their estimator, Brett Chapman, as good as they are. They're just completely, you know, like, their comments are, we've never worked with a contractor, you know, construction management firm like this that has that good of an estimator. It's really on the ball, so.
They feel very confident that when they give us the final GMP number, everything we've seen from them, we feel confident that will be the final number or less. And that, the GMP number, as you remember, is the number. If it goes over that, we don't have to pay for it. So, but it's gone really, really well. Great relationship. I cannot speak more highly of Samson and their process so far.
They've been great to work with.
So they yell at us. They say, hey, that sounds like a great idea, but guess what? That costs this. And then we're like, yeah, we're not doing that. Keep moving. So it's it's timely, like, I know you mentioned Shane and myself kind of had to put in a lot of extra hours on this stuff and really get into the nitpicky stuff with them, so. But never thought we'd talk so much about basketball court lengths and heights of roofs and all this stuff, but you don't wanna do it wrong, so we're trying to put the time in, but it is an excessive amount of time, and it eats up a lot of hours. Like I said, I meet every Monday with that group all afternoon, and usually, last night, I think it went till 6:30 after people start bailing out, so.
So I'm lucky the air conditioner started dripping into the offices yesterday and got a call from
Yeah,
work.
but I had a call and jumped
No,
up.
I really did. I've got photos, I've got photos.
So, I can answer any questions you have, but I think most of you were responsive to, I let everybody else know about the email I sent out this morning, so we'll get you in next week, and then we'll get this on the agenda for a presentation on the 20th. So, and again, if you can't, all the details in there, so if you can't meet with us, then get a hold of me personally and we'll follow up. So, and again, we're following up on some weird things with the Shovel Ready grant. We just saw that there were some changes. I have calls into the legislature to numerous sources. There were some changes that they did in amending the uniform, like the urban affairs bill, where they Christmas treated a bunch of stuff. Well, they threw in an amendment right at the last minute and amended a bunch of changes into this Shovel Ready process.
Did they do it on purpose or did not know?
No, they did it on purpose, but when we asked the question, so Shane Bach, I let him know, and then he's our contact to the grant administrator at DED for that grant. And we said, hey, does this change anything for us? Cause it extends like deadlines way out. Like, you don't have to start your project until December of 2025, which we've technically already started. We had to do that under the old. So we're trying to figure out, are we under the old criteria or the amended, cause this is in state law. Which one is it? And we didn't get a good answer, and so
They might not know.
They don't know yet.
well, she seemed to think that she knew, but again, they've kind of been a rudderless ship at DED
I was
because they
gonna
had
let's
a
ask the new
director.
director, I'm sure he has nothing else on his plate, we could just call him up, he'll
So,
figure it out.
Um,
He started starts in a week.
but McConnell was the one that did the amendment, who replaced Senator Coulterman on retirement, and I called his staff today, and the LA that had worked on that amendment is out, but he'll return my phone call. And so I want to get an interpretation of what the intent was. If the intent was, no, we want to slide it for all projects, this is to benefit everyone and if there are some more in the future that they're going to continue to do, it's for all of them. That was our intent, but we got to ask the sources directly, because DED is not exactly helpful right now. We think we're still in good shape, but if we can ride along with that, that just makes it a little bit,
Easier.
it releases the pressure valve on Shane slightly, because he looks like a tea kettle most days now. So,
It looks like that.
Any other questions or comments for Gary? If not, we'll move on to the report.
included in your packet is my city administrator's report. I think the biggest one right now is we're really, really strapped at administration in City Hall. We're without a finance director still. We have interviews again this week, but that is a painstaking process with few applicants. So we'll continue that process. We hopefully will have somebody and see what happens this week. Julie Moody is out on European vacation with the high school, which was planned way in advance. It just hit at the wrong time. And then our payroll clerk is out on maternity leave. So we are basically out everybody but the billing clerk in all of the financial department. And so Derek has stepped up, huge kudos to him on onboarding and doing a lot of the stuff to get people into our payroll system and into that. Kirsten has taken over some of the odds and ends for airport and other financial stuff that kind of comes in over the following weeks. I'm reviewing all the payrolls and working that and prepping it for Julie, so the day she gets back she can finish it, but I'm handling all payroll issues, and some of the odds and end TIF stuff that's rolling in, but we ran around for an hour today on a payroll issue where, a lifeguard high school kid wrote down their account number wrong. We sent it in for the automatic deposit, it kicked it back to us and kicked our money back. And now we're having to write manual bills out of that account, or manual checks out of that account. It just eats up a lot of time with staff that's not a normal thing, and these are not normal people that handle this stuff. And so it's really, really hard right now at the administration. I'm just letting you know, while also building a wellness center and a wastewater treatment plant.
So stay away from City Hall is what he's trying to tell you.
We're trying to be diligent, put in the extra time and hours. Because we have some of this financial relief, because we're not paying a finance director, I said, if you guys need to work overtime or get comp time or whatever, do whatever we need that we identify needs to get done, because it is mission critical. And let's do it, and we'll get you caught up on the back end. But, and Mindy too, Mindy's been doing a great job handling LB 840 and taking a lot more phone calls, kind of taking away from her communication elements and social media stuff. So we just said, focus on mission critical communication stuff. We like all the other stuff you do, but we need you to assist here, and she's done a great job of that as well. I can't speak highly enough of my staff at City Hall, and then taking this on, kind of unfortunate circumstances. So, other than that, again, it's just all these huge projects. It's the wastewater treatment plant, it's the wellness center, it's the water tower. We had our pre-con meeting on water tower, trying to finish up some of the exterior design stuff. I think I have a meeting with our artiste tomorrow to kind of see if we can get a final design for you, so you can see what it might look like. And then lots of personnel items. We have a lot of personnel things going on. We're still trying to, I mean, Chief Peters is sitting here, we are still trying to hire a police officer to fill our last vacancy a year and 4 months later. That is a painstaking process, and Derek and Chief, and we outlined that in here in some of their comments. I mean, they are hitting the pavement trying to recruit people. All the way down to looking for people from Seward County that graduated from other universities and institutions in the state like Wayne or Doane or Concordia. Wherever we can find them, where it lists, here was my major and here's where I was born. Hey, you've got criminal justice, are you interested in coming back home? I mean, that's the level of detail these two are going to try and get people to come in and work for us. That's how hard it is to find people right now. So, when you see constantly we having this opening and us going through this process over and over and over and again, it's a painstaking process because we have to do testing, questions with the civil service process, background checks, polygraphs, physicals, interviews with myself and the mayor, over and over and over and over. It's hard. So, other than that, I can answer any questions. I laid out a bunch of stuff that everybody's working on in here, but especially with City Hall, please try to bear with us for the next month as we try to make sure all the finances are in order, that we keep that. And then the other one that I'm handling by myself is budget. That's also actively going on right now. And I've taken the reins on that one because Nick's gone. So, there you go.
Any questions or comments for Greg? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
Move to accept the
To
report.
accept the report.
Second.
Motion and second. Please register your votes. Please sway the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coulter, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Do you have any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action?
Just an update maybe on Highway 15. Maybe I'm just missing it, but just kind of where we're at. I probably
Like an
the
updated
most common
time-
question.
Like an updated timeline?
Yeah, like when does it start?
I think everything is still on schedule. Mike noted tonight that they anticipate that, it must be from what they're seeing in other projects, that project's gonna go longer, right?
Which project?
Highway 15 reconstruction.
Full 2 years.
Full 2 years.
2 full years,
They're anticipated to start still in Easter of '24.
correct?
They're gonna try and finish up that portion between Ash Street and Highway 34 by Jones Bank, below the highway, between Easter and July 4th. Then they'll be gone, and then they'll come back after July 4th, and that's when they're gonna start taking out a lane and diverting down to 1-lane traffic
Through town.
through town from Highway 34 all the way out to basically the high school, to Pinewood.
Mike?
They changed that.
You're so patient. Let Greg just go and go.
Six phases. So the first phase you described is correct. The second half of that phase is the intersection of the two highways, so to the south side. Then starting phase 2 will be the north side of the intersection of two highways. They will then close off 1 lane at a time from Highway 34 to some finishing point by Winter. Open it up for the winter, and then they'll go, from 34 to Moffett as an example. And they'll do that portion from July 4th through December.
With single lane traffic or with double lane or with no traffic?
single at a time.
Yes.
So they'll still do that, and then they'll complete both lanes, whatever they think, by December, shut it down for the winter, and then the following year, open it up again. That may change a little bit, as they're getting no bidders on projects, so they're trying to make it more flexible for the contractor to entice somebody to actually bid on the project.
And the hard part is when you do it in segments now, it's gonna entice people to come further into, this is the first time I'm hearing this, but this just happened, I know that they extended it just like within a few days. Your concern with that is when they do it in segments like that people will come further into town rather than take the identified route that we want to move them around in the city. They'll just come in, oh, there's only one lane, and then they'll divert off of that. And that's all we need is somebody like cruising down Lincoln Street, you know, with the 18-wheeler, so. But NDOT is aware of this, and again, as we've seen before in the past, at least regards to the truck traffic, as the experience in David City, they said as soon as we got going, within a week or two, the truck traffic disappeared because they didn't want to deal with any of this junk anymore.
Word gets out.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, they'll go around,
yep. So,
go around Thompson.
And the other one I had was like the trail, so.
and the trail is
Yeah.
caught up at our BNSF
Okay,
nightmare negotiation, so.
We're working on that too.
thank you.
I was supposed to just let everyone know they're invited to the June 15th, 4th of July / city meeting at 3 PM here.
Yep.
So,
That's our standard meeting with the 4th of July committee to hammer out all the city responsibilities, barricades, water connections, electric connections.
if you feel so inclined to participate, I will not be here myself, but Uncle Clark will, so.
Our favorite one is figuring out how big the blast radius got for the fireworks and where the fencing needs to go, so, but
And you all should have fun things on your desks for.
Alright. So,
another follow-up one, just because it was a previous item. Councilmember Wergen had inquired about the striping and painting on Highway 34. We had another issue in relation to that one, so we did send a follow-up to Tom Goodbarn, the district engineer. And so, the question we have is an engineer, like a traffic engineering question, about which lane should go to which. Because there's some discrepancy about feel versus signage right now. And so that's become an issue that we've been dealing with the PD with as well. And so we want his expert opinion. Because they kind of, their first response was, well, you guys just go throw some paint out there, it's fine. And we're like, no, that's not gonna work now. We need you guys to give us some direction. We'll do the work, but we need a little bit more direction. Because it's causing issues still. We need to start clarifying that. So we'll have more follow-up for you on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Upcoming events, just wanted to make note of the President and CEO report that you approved consent agenda. Again, just reminders, if relatively newer council members, you're welcome to ask specific questions about projects as you work your way through that. Some brief good news items to share from that. We were selected for the next round of grant funds for the state of Nebraska preschool development grant, $73,700 to expand our childcare service providers here throughout the county. Please, if you have constituents that represent those business partners, please let them know about that, that they can apply for those funds. Participated in Seward County Gives, continue to work our way along the Illuminate Seward project. So we actually are hoping to get 13 more buildings installed before the 4th of July. That's the hope. The lights are here and the electrician has them. And then we're also working on the sound system for downtown Seward, installed permanently, so we had that for our various parades and on Farmers Market and other things. Some upcoming events to note, hosting Bicycle Ride Across Nebraska, Brand, here this upcoming weekend, Friday, Saturday, June 9th, 10th, 400 cyclists in the community for an overnight stay, hosting a street dance to welcome them, encourage their shopping, dining around town during the day. If you see them, please welcome them in. Tuesday, June 20th, summer listening and outreach session with the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. They're going around the state. We hosted at Concordia last year, we're hosting at Southeast Community College, Milford campus for lunch, 11 to 1. RSVP if you'd like to join us. Wednesday, 21st, our first annual Seward County Rising Stars Leadership Program graduation ceremony starting 11 o'clock. at the Civic Center, you're welcome to join us there as well. Wednesday, June 28th, Coffee and Contacts with Union Bank and Trust at Neutral Ground, 7:30 to 9. And yes, the 4th of July is on the 4th of July. I will just keep reminding you that because we still are getting calls. And then lastly, we did submit our Creative Arts District application in partnership, or to the Nebraska Arts Council, partnership with the Seward Arts Council and City of Seward. We appreciate the partnership on that. That will potentially give us access to over $500,000 in grants for supporting the local creative community. But that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Next we have is a strategy session.
I move that city council go into a closed session with mayor, city administrator, city attorney's representative Connor Madsen. He's here, okay. Jonathan Jank and the city clerk for the protection of the public interest and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail Campus and to provide city attorney with negotiating guidance for a period not to exceed 30 minutes.
Alright, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coulter, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Alright, the council's voted to go into closed session at 8:29 p.m. for the protection of the public interest and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail Campus and to provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance. No formal action will be taken. We are in closed session. Thank you, everyone.